If you procrastinated on your goals, you can use these 6 tips to transform your life in 6 months. What is good? I am Fatima. Welcome back to another video. Today we are talking about ways to transform your life before the end of the year. I got some matcha tea. Get yourself a snack or a drink, and let's hop into today's video. Tip number 1, look at what is going right, be grateful, and consistently do those things that are going right for you. Perhaps you are doing your morning routine consistently, or maybe you are reading 1 book a month every month of the year. Those are positive habits that are creating a positive difference in your life. So obviously keep doing them. Show gratitude to yourself that you have some healthy habits to start off of. Tip number 2 is see what is currently not working and make adjustments from there. An example of this is, say you're like, I'm trying to reduce my unhealthy snacking, but what do? You keep bringing unhealthy snacks into your home. It's defeating the purpose. Another one too, like maybe that you're like, okay, I am trying to increase my water intake, but you're not tracking the water. How do you know what more is if you don't know what you were originally consuming? And also you don't even have like a number or goal of like how many ounces or cups that you're trying to drink. You need to, so when you realize the aspects that need some fine tuning or are not going the way you want, then you can hone in on them and make some adjustments to improve them in the right direction. Tip number 3 is to redefine your goals. So maybe some of them were not specific enough, and then others you may have been a little too ambitious. If you were like, okay, this year I am going to read more in general. What does read more again? Like, what is specific about that? Nothing. Read more could mean you read one page a day. Read more could mean that you read 20 pages a day. Like, what is reading more for you? You need to set clear, specific measurable goals, like so that you can better identify what read more means. So maybe for you, read more means reading 10 books by the end of the year. Then you can go at your own pace and figure out what that means. So maybe that's like 10 pages a day. Maybe read more for you means I'm gonna read 1 fiction and 1 nonfiction book each month. So this is way easier to track rather than just, I'm gonna read more. And don't feel bad if you weren't like making your goal specific. There's, you can still improve. It's not too late. Another example of a goal that might need to be tweaked and tuned. Say you are, a new content creator. You started in January and you're like, okay, I started my YouTube channel this year. By December 31st of this year, I'm gonna have 1 million subscribers. Girl, what are you talking about? Like, let's be for real. So I'm not saying don't have lofty and ambitious goals, but maybe tweak them to still be scary and still be ambitious, but a little bit more realistic. So maybe you're like, okay, started my YouTube channel. I want to reach 10,000 or 25,000 subscribers by the end of the year. It's still ambitious, but it's a lot more attainable than saying you're going to get 1 million in a year. And don't get me wrong, some people are able to get those goals accomplished, but just set yourself up for success rather than failure, because it is a lot harder, like I said, to reach 1 million in a year when you're just starting out versus reaching like 1K or 10K or 25,000. Like, that is much more attainable, as a newish creator. With that being said, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'll give you a second. Thank you. Currently, we are trying to grow our community to 500 subscribers. We are almost halfway there. And, eventually we are looking to get to hundreds of thousands, but each one of you counts in growing this community. So I would really appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button. All right, number 4 on the list is gradually adding goals on. I think some people call it like goal stacking. And honestly, it is way more realistic to gradually add things as you go rather than like, all right, I'm putting it all at once. And don't get me wrong, because I've been there. You know, you watch that motivational video, you read that book, you're like, oh, look at this person, their life is coming together, I can do this. And then tomorrow you're like, all right, tomorrow's the day, I'm gonna do all these things. And then you try to do all these things, and maybe it's sustainable for 3 days, 5 days, a week, and then out of nowhere you just stop. And it's like, you probably stop because you're overwhelmed and you try to put too many things on at once. So instead of saying, okay, tomorrow I'm waking up at 5 a.m. I'm doing my morning routine, I'm gonna have my morning coffee, I'm gonna read 20 pages, I'm gonna work out for an hour and a half, I'm gonna do like, slow down, pull back, and see what is going right for you. So maybe you're like, okay, I've already been waking up at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m., whatever time it is for you. Maybe you're like, okay, I already wake up at this time to start my day. I don't have a problem with that. So now this week, I'm gonna add consistently doing my morning routine. And then you're like, okay, I got a hang of that. And now I'm gonna add in, you know, doing my night routine. So this way you're like gradually adding things, and you're forming habits as you go, rather than putting all of it together at the beginning and then you're like, why can't I sustain this? It just makes more sense to gradually add things little by little so that you have long-lasting habits. Also, I do want to say with the habit stacking or goal stacking, you know what is like reasonable time for you. So maybe like every week you add a different thing to improve yourself, or maybe it's a bi-weekly, or maybe it's every 3 days. Like, you know what works for you as you want to like add more goals. So if Miss Ma'am over here, she adds goals every 3 days, but you can only add goals every 2 weeks, do what you got to do. Like, this is about you and your journey and making sure you accomplish what you are accomplishing. It is not a race against them. It's about you accomplishing your goals. So just keep that in mind as you stack on goals bit by bit. Number 5, we were just speaking about others. So I want to give this one. If you are going to look at others, consider them as inspiration and encouragement. Do not use it as a measurement of comparison. As they say, comparison is the thief of joy. And if you get sucked into that portal, you often dwell about, oh, I wish I could be here, or look at all the things that they have and I don't have. Instead of viewing it that way, look at their journey and be like, if they could attain that, then I could attain that too. If they were able to accomplish X, Y, Z, then I know that it's possible for me. Flip the script into a positive way and look at it as motivating and encouraging, rather than somebody you're competing against or comparing yourself and looking at what you don't have and what they do have. Just think about it as, you know, if they could attain those things, then I can definitely attain the things that I have set in mind for myself, whether they be similar to that person or different. But just know that you should use them as encouragement and as motivation, and don't use them as like, oh, what was me, you know? Like, granted, we can be sad about like the things we have, but when you're looking at somebody and what they have, try not to look at it from a lens of jealousy. Try to look at it from a lens of, that could be me too. So keep that in mind. Last but not least is number 6, and that is to be consistent, even when, and especially when, you do not see results. And I feel like a perfect example of that is, maybe you are on your fitness journey and like you kind of hit a plateau on the scale. The scale is not moving, but you are still doing your 4 to 5 workouts each week. You're still doing those things, but maybe, and then by the end of the month, you realize, oh wait, like my clothes fit a little bit looser. I actually lost some inches or centimeters off my body. And because you kept going, you actually do end up seeing results, but maybe they're just not the results that you want to see. And with obviously tweaks and tunes, the results that you want will come, but be consistent. And I know that one's a hard one. That's a hard one for me too. But being consistent is important when you don't feel motivated, because you won't always feel motivated. It is important to be consistent when you don't want to always do the things like you have to do. You need to remember to be consistent, because it is going to benefit you so much in the long run. So number 6, be consistent. Don't forget about that one. So this concludes our 6 tips for transforming your life in 6 months. Comment below which tip resonated most with you, or if you have an additional tip that you're using to help transform your life in the last few months of this year. Please keep in mind, we are all capable of reaching the goals that we set out for ourselves. We can accomplish so much, but in order to accomplish it, we have to get started. Even if you procrastinated, even if you delayed, it is okay, but start now. Like, don't wait any longer. Today, maybe if all you do is go look back at your vision board, go look back at your goal list, and then you're like, okay, I need to make some adjustments. That is fine, that is a starting point. Don't keep delaying, because the time is going to go whether you do something or not. So with that being said, thank you for tuning in to another video. Do not forget to subscribe and like this video. I'll see you in my next one. Take care.